And we're live. Hello and welcome to the 213th episode of HEX Therapy Live. I'm your host, Maddie Allen, and I've got a great short show for you tonight. Merry Christmas, happy holidays. It is December 26th. We had a great episode of Game Theory Gang on Tuesday night. We got into tons of discussions that led to further thoughts and people messaging me really good game theory observations. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, I'm going to go over some longevity work that I'm doing and how you can contribute and so much more. So hit the like and subscribe button, share this out. You're in the right place. Welcome to Hex Therapy Live.
It's from Maddie Allen of Hex Therapy Live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being could do better than trying to heal his fellow man.
Maddie Allen's got that covered. Does emotional, feel good, mind management, emotion stuff as his gig because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. He helps heal people.
All right. So we had some wild volatility in the previous week. And that has largely subsided. I think we're not down more than Bitcoin and Ethereum are compared to a month ago or something like that. So woof. That was a close one. And yeah, I mean, in Hex Therapy Live, we can talk about, the emotional stress that can happen when the markets drop 60% and then rebound. Hopefully people didn't get shaken out too bad. But yeah, I mean, crypto is definitely a risk asset, and it's something where, you need to have a strategy in place to decide usually ahead of time. And that's one of the things that I would always teach my therapy clients, when it comes to the difference between impulsivity or impulsive actions where you're leaping before looking, where you're basically, you're not putting proper thought into something before you do it. It's the same thing with crypto markets. This is a situation where impulsivity can rear its ugly head. And that's something that happens to people in the moment. I actually did my master's thesis on impulsivity and the neuroscience behind it, and the effect of nicotine, which is a stimulant, which is what a lot of people use. About 50% of people who have ADHD, and as a part of that impulsivity, about half of those people smoke tobacco cigarettes as a self-medication for impulsivity. But luckily you don't have to smoke cigarettes if you want to avoid an impulsive mistake or an emotional mistake. But we just need to remember that impulsivity isn't as helpful to think of as a trait as it is a state that's influenced by your environment. So instead of attributing the behavior, whatever it is, I mean, it could be anger outbursts, it could be depression, it could be any, behavioral symptom. But in this case, we're talking about impulsively jeeting your bags. In any behavior, you have to consider, it's not something that lives inside of you that determines how people act in a certain situation. It's the situation that you find yourself in. And so when it comes to impulsivity, and when it comes to programming any behavior in your life in order to allow you to be more successful, you have to pay attention to what your people, places, and things are. And so, for example, if you have somebody you can call, when like the markets are crashing, or you turn it, you have like a favorite YouTuber who's going to be level headed. Like that's something I used even before Hex existed. Like, but basically what I'm saying is you want to have a plan in place. That plan should include people and, maybe some of these other aspects of programming your environment. For example, like if you want to be able to buy the dip, then you have to agree with yourself ahead of time that you're not going to be so greedy as to like, be all in on something, because then what are you going to buy the dip with? Right. So, for some people, they had the amount of conviction where, they're sitting out of the trading game and they're making long-term plays only. And that is a different kind of volatility that you'll stomach, and a different kind of like, emotional burden that you'll have if you're even paying attention to the price, which a lot of people are, because it's a source of great entertainment and dopamine, as Sami likes to point out. But that's certainly what drives like the conversations and like the animations and the interactions between members of the community of Hex and Pulse Chain on social media. Like usually you can wake up, open Twitter, and look and see like, whether people are going after each other or not, and that'll tell you what the price is. And likewise, you can look at the price and pretty much see like, whether people are going to be beefing or not. But the whole idea here is, like different people are going to have different strategies. And some people, once they get like experienced enough, they want to have like all of the strategies in play. Like, so for me, I have separate hardware wallets with like different, it's basically like different characters I'm playing in the game. Johnny Chaos used to talk about this. It's like, or with like the staker leagues, you could have one wallet, maybe it has like 1% or 10% of your holdings. And maybe that's something where you're doing like minor trading with, versus, maybe the majority is mentally separated into a different hardware wallet. And that's where like not only the people, but the places and the things come into play, where despite what corrupt fiat economists will tell you about like, like the envelope system of people separating their money into like, different bins mentally or like physically, an economist that's trained in government corruption, they'll tell you that has no effect and that it's not real. And they're like, it doesn't change your decision making. Well, personally, I beg to differ. So, I guess you can find out for yourself. But for me, having separate wallets, is better from an OPSEC perspective, as well as like being able to mentally separate and contain like any kind of volatile emotions or like, craziness. And I think there are different levels, certainly, of like being all in and being in the game. For me, I mentioned on Tuesday, this was like the most stressful dip that I've ever experienced, because I've never had so much of my life savings and net worth in crypto. Like even if I was all in back in 2020 or 2021, like since then I've worked for like, multiple years, like, doing this and that, and converting different, basically what I'm saying is like, yeah, at this point, I've never been more all in on crypto, even though in the past I've been all in. So yeah, so I feel like, yeah, that's got a lot of struggles that go with it, that, you know, a lot of people are going to be at different levels of risk based on like their family planning, based on their life circumstances, based on their age, etc. And this certainly isn't financial advice, but I am just making the observations that even for me, I have to stay emotionally fit because the game changes. Even though it's the same game, like even though it's RH tickers, even though it's, you know, F fiat, F the banks, all that good kind of stuff. Like still, I mean, just this week I was running around Texas trying to open a bank account, and the first place I stopped like denied me because of some corrupt like shadow banking list that I'm on, because I had the founder of because I interviewed the founder of a cryptocurrency on my YouTube channel 2 years ago. And that made me a witness in an SEC case where they're basically struggling to even find jurisdiction as far as I know. But yeah, with that being said, I don't know. Yeah, there are a lot of like psychological dynamics at play in the market right now. One observation I have is that like typically in legacy stocks, you see something called the January effect, which is where like equities go down in value, like the stock market goes down in value because of like a number of like tax reasons and people being on holiday on Wall Street, like, etc., whatever. Like January is like typically a down month for stocks, but this January we got Trump going into office. We have like rates being cut by the Fed. We have crypto hopefully returning to the United States due to like regulatory clarity and like less hostility. So I don't know. January 20th can't come fast enough, but it's also interesting because at the beginning of this year in January, we saw the opposite in the HEX market, where the bottom had been marked in December and the beginning of January, but it was actually on the last day of the HEX conference on January 9th that Richard's lawyers showed their cards publicly and released a letter saying that the SEC was wrong and they're going to fight the case, so on and so forth. And that news is what, you know, carried our market up, I guess, along with Bitcoin, because we topped similarly in mid-March as the rest of crypto did. So yeah, so like when we look at the factors at play, again, it's you know, it's a matter of like, you want to have a plan, you want to like, you know, not fall into a trap of like selling dips and buying pumps. Like that's not good. So I don't know. I guess I'm just you know, just making some general observations about how the market psychology and market dynamics might play out in the near term. But yes, separating your wallets into what your plan is ahead of time allows you to not be impulsive and not make an emotional mistake of freaking out. Like for me, I experienced great fear when my entire life savings dropped like 50 or 60% in like, you know, one afternoon in the past week, right? Or what was that? About a week ago. And yeah, I don't know. Time's been flying, but yeah, so, but that's something that I've trained for, where I've practiced mastering fear and mastering greed. And those are two things like just because you master them once doesn't mean you don't have to keep practicing them and like keep your skills sharp, like sharpen the blade. So what I'll do is like when I was first starting to like the process of mastering fear and greed, what I would do is I would take like some small-ish percentage of my portfolio and I would like practice selling on a green day and buying on a red day, maybe with like 1% or 0.5% of my portfolio. And that was really good practice because, it's only going to be harder and harder when euphoria hits, when we're at the top of the market. Even myself as like an experienced broadcaster, I can be like influenced by other people's attitudes and beliefs. And, it's kind of like if you survive all the 60% dips and like all the reasons to sell crypto on the way up, including like mad gains, like if you sell on a 10x and then you get another 10x and another 10x after that, like we've seen in some cryptos, part of what got you to the top was the behavior that now you have to reverse if you want to, I guess, best the market. But in reality, selling tops like isn't for everybody, because by definition you can't sell the top. On average, not everybody can sell the top, because then it wouldn't be the top, or like, it becomes like a circular self-fulfilling prophecy where like the more people that sell actually, create the top in the past or in the future, depending on supply and demand. But at the end of the day, dollar cost averaging is an excellent strategy, like mastering fear and greed by like, buying when other people are fearful and selling when other people are greedy, or like mastering your own emotions. Like I think that's a solid thing. That's something that can be helpful in Hex Therapy Live. Fast Abdul is here for the tech. Love it. So, another thing that I wanted to, I guess, like announce again tonight is like I'm finding myself getting more and more involved in like trying to fundraise for longevity research and like, getting more involved, volunteering and like, putting my time trying to get crypto strategies put together for like different longevity foundations. And so I made an announcement. Well, I guess he made an announcement on Tuesday. Aubrey de Grey is now accepting donations for any token on Pulse Chain, basically, to fund his longevity research. And he put together a really good tweet here. Let me see if I can find it. Here we go. I think I shared it on Tuesday, but I wanted to like put it in the title because I didn't really know how much we'd have to talk about. And yeah, so Aubrey has already raised like tens of millions of dollars for his rejuvenation work for cells, and this year he needs more funding. And so you can donate before the end of the year. That's really cool because for some people that has tax advantages. And so he's got his own Trezor set up now. They can accept Pulse Chain tokens. Shout out to somebody who donated $350 just yesterday or the day before. That's really cool. But more people can get involved. This is something that This was the person who Richard Hart was donating to during the pulse chain sacrifice and all that good kind of stuff. So I'll drop this in the chat, but it's also in the pinned, or not pinned, but it's in the YouTube description. And this is the address where you can send pulse chain tokens. Otherwise, if you're donating non-pulse chain stuff like Bitcoin or Ethereum or anything that's traded on Coinbase, you can go to levf.org/donate, and that's already set up. So yeah, very cool. Very cool. People are asking if it's legit. Yeah, it's legit. I've covered it in my live streams. Yeah, very cool. Yeah, and I know that there are a lot of supporters in the audience that support longevity work, and I think that's really cool because we're in this hex game for like longevity as well. The most time locked token, the community that believes the most. So that's pretty cool. I'm going to keep it short today because I know I've been busy for the holidays and I have a conference to plan. I might have found one billionaire who's not Richard Hart to come speak at the conference. And I've got a couple more big speakers that I've got like invites out to, but the next step is going to be to invite like all the speakers who've spoken before and give them a way to sign up, like update the homepage for hexconference.com and everything for this year's information. So yeah, like I've got my work cut out for me, and it's the holidays here. So hopefully everybody's hanging in there and doing well. I really appreciate this community, and you guys mean a lot to me. So thanks for being here for another year of Hex Therapy Live. I guess the next time I stream for this, I think it'll be next year. I think next week on Thursday is it's January 2nd. So this is your last Hex Therapy for 2024. And we've done 213 weeks straight, never missing a week. And Game Theory Gang, I think we're going to do an afternoon show on New Year's Eve. So as not to not to keep people held down, I know everybody hangs on every word that we say on Game Theory Gang. So, and then the Hex conference that happens online January 6th through 9th. I'll be making like a lot of posts about it. I'm not really like co-hosting, but I'm like severely involved in a crypto meetup that's going to happen in Austin on Saturday. And I'm going to put out a tweet about that like probably tomorrow. So if you're in the Austin area or you know anybody in the Austin area, there's an Eventbrite link for people, and it's free to attend. The people who are putting it on, that's the company that I've worked with to create the Pulse Chain physical coins. And actually the guy who's hosting the party, Bobby Gray, is the person who invented the Bitcoin logo, like with the circuit boards behind it and stuff. So he'll be there. He'll be putting on the event. So yeah, very cool. And so stay tuned for that on x.com/MATI all in. So also remember, it's never too late to get a hardware device. I use multiple Trezors, and that's what Aubrey de Grey uses. And you can order one in my link in the description below. It costs you the same amount, but it also supports the channel. So there you go. And with that being said, hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully everybody's hanging in there and having a good holidays. So until next time, stake wisely, my friends, and peace out.
It's from Maddie Allen of HEX Therapy Live. I like Maddie. Maddie tries to make the world a healthier place. He's a mental health professional. He's done research.
Big videos on sudden wealth syndrome.
There's nothing that a human being can do better than try and heal his fellow man.
Maddie Allen's got that covered. Does emotional, feel good, mind management, emotion stuff like as his gig, because he's a therapist. That's what he does for a living. Like, he helps heal people.